Hello and welcome to another video for Mosaic Art. We do these videos once a week on behalf of One Love community. Usually we do classes on a Monday at our cafe, Expressions Cafe in Warsaw. That's at 73 Bridge Street in the town centre. And I hope that we can open again very soon, so we can make some more beautiful things together. This week I'm doing something a lot more simple than what I've been doing the last 7 or 8 weeks. One of the reasons was because I am quite tired this week, but also to give you an opportunity perhaps to do something easier for you and most of all faster. So this week I'm just doing 4 coasters. I bought these ready cut round coasters. Again, I bought them from a shop called Hobby Island. If you go on Google, you can find it very easily. It's a very good online shop that sells a huge variety of mosaic tiles and mosaic bases, adhesives, glues, tools. You can just go on there and have a look. They also have a really good section for clearance and sales, and you can find tiles there that are sometimes you can get a real bargain on there. So the tiles that I'm using for this project are the classic vitreous, frost-proof, weatherproof glass tiles that we all know. They're 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. They're about 4 millimeters thick, and this particular style has this I don't know what it's called. It's kind of like iridescent. It has these gold streaks, rose gold streaks going through it. So it is really beautiful. It depends on your taste as well, if you like that sort of thing or not. And for my coaster, I tried to cut all the pieces in a certain direction. So I wanted that grain, that gold grain, to go inwards, so facing the center of the circle. But you know, you might want to do it the other way around, where the grain goes kind of all around, the way that I did on my Moroccan table. These tiles come in lots of different colors, and these were on special offer, so I was really happy that I was able to get some nice tiles for this project. And as you can see here, I've started cutting them. First I cut them in half, all in the same direction, like I said, so I make sure that the grain is vertical to the way I'm cutting them. And then I cut them into trapezoids, so I cut the 2 sides at an angle because I want to follow the circle. I could have left them as rectangles, but what I did, basically I tried them on the circle first to see how they fit, so it was better in this case to actually cut the corners. It depends on the size of your base how you will lay your tiles. And like I said many times before, you want to cut them in such a way that you minimize the waste, especially if you're using something that's not very cheap. So I'm using grab adhesive, which you can find in any homeware store or Wilko or Home Bargains, B&Q, that type of shop. And it's not exactly tile adhesive, it's a little bit different. It looks the same, but they use it to attach skirtings and things like that in houses, and it is suitable for what we're doing here. obviously it's not recommended for outdoor use, so that's a completely different subject. If you want to make something for outdoors, then you need to make sure, like I said before, that you are using the right materials for that. It does give you a little bit of time to move your pieces around. If you change your mind when the pieces are stuck on the base, you can just kind of peel them off with a spatula or a blunt knife. And I was just taking my time, really taking my time with this project. I really like this teal, dark teal color. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough for what I wanted to do, because I only bought a few sheets of 25 tiles each. So that was the deal. So it was only about 80p, I think it was, for 25 tiles of each color. And I just bought 3 or 4 different colors just to try them out, and I realized at the end of the project that I didn't have enough of the blue, so I had to kind of improvise and use the other 2 greens, but it was fine in the end. This is a really fun project to do, kind of, you know, when it's the school holidays, when it's the holidays in general, when you want to make something for a friend or a family member, if you want to give them something for Christmas or for their birthday or something like that. It doesn't take too long. You might be able to use maybe some old coasters that you have lying around that don't look very nice anymore, or maybe you have somebody who can cut circles for you, but it is also easy to find them ready. I can't remember now how much I paid for these, but they were not expensive at all, and it does save you a lot of trouble, you know, looking for somebody to cut you just a piece of wood. Sometimes they can charge silly money just to cut you a piece of wood. As with every project, no matter how small the project is, you always need to do a little bit of planning beforehand. Like I said before, for this project, for example, I just needed to think a little bit about the size of my tiles, how I'm going to cut them, how I'm going to lay them. Is it worth cutting them into triangles? You know, and then if you do that little bit of planning, it makes it more enjoyable after, and easier just to get on with it. Another thing is, these tiles are very sharp when you cut them, so you are left with these very sharp slivers and triangles. So as you can see, I've cut my glass on a plastic bag. It's probably better if you cut your glass inside a tub or a container or something like that. And you just have to be really careful when you are cutting these tiles. They are beautiful, they're very good quality, but you just have to be extra careful when you're cutting them. I cut myself a couple of times. So as you go further in the circle, the angles of your trapezoids will be a little bit further in. So again, that's something that you can plan ahead, and you can always use a Sharpie and mark your tile and see, you know, where you need to cut it before you cut it. And I'm not very fussy with this project. I'm not sure at this stage what I'm going to be doing in the middle. So I'm just following the color sequence that I wanted from the beginning, which was the blue, then the darker green, and then the lighter green, and that's it. So I'm just using 3 colors in total. And I am trying, again, another thing I mentioned before is to stagger my pieces. So I'm trying to avoid having too many straight lines, like, you know, the grout lines, the gaps that you get between your glass tiles. You want to try and lay your tiles the way you would do a brick wall. So you don't put one on top of the other, you put it halfway, and then you break that flow of the lines, if that makes sense. That's my son Nikitas in the background, making his baby noises. I'm going to try and put some music on now, so let's see if that's going to work for you. Okay, so as you can see, by the time I reach the light green, I'm cutting the pieces more at an angle to fit round the inner circle. Another thing I wanted to mention was that when you're using certain tiles, they are transparent or semi-transparent. So like I have said this before, that the color of your base and the color of your tile adhesive or glue will affect the final effect of that particular tile. So you can see here with the lighter green that it's actually semi-transparent, and so when you put it on the light brown, it looks a bit dark, and then when you put the white adhesive underneath, then it brightens it up. So that's just something to take into consideration when you're using tiles or glass that is transparent or semi-transparent, and just keep in mind that the color and the effect will change according to what's underneath that. So here I've reached the center of the circle, and initially I was just going to put a square in the middle, but that doesn't work very well for what I'm doing here. So I ended up cutting a circle in the middle, which is very easy. Like I've said before, all you do is you cut a square and then you nip all around. So you nip the four corners, and then you can, if you want it better, you can nip it a bit more. But I'm not very fussy with things like that. I don't really like it when you have perfect circles or perfect squares. I like them to look hand cut and handmade. So it doesn't bother me if I cut a circle and it's not a perfect circle. But other people just don't like that, and they like to use millefiori tiles or glass nuggets or just round tiles or buttons, or it just depends on your personal taste, and the possibilities are endless really to what you can do. I wanted to put more blue on my coasters, but like I said before, I ran out of that particular color, so I had to be a little bit more creative with what I had available. I had 3 colors in the same style. I actually kept all these little offcuts, especially the bigger ones, the very thin triangles. I kept those in a plastic bag because the colors are very beautiful, and I might be able to use them for another project, even though they are very small pieces. Sometimes I work with very, very small tesserae, so I kept those for maybe a future project. So for this particular project that I'm doing, mosaic project, I was being very, very careful not to get too much of the adhesive between my pieces, because I actually wanted to make some colored ground to put around my tiles in the end. So that's another thing to consider. If you want your ground to be a different color, you can either add a small amount of paint into your grout and mix it up, or you can just use any color grout like white or gray or like a neutral beige and then paint over it in the end. Just make sure that you don't put too much paint in your grout, and you might want to do some testing first somewhere, because when you add paint to grout and then the grout dries, it will probably be lighter than what you expected in the beginning. So if you want to do that, just do a little test first. Make a very small amount of grout mixed with any water-based paint, and then apply it somewhere onto a piece of cardboard or a spare tile or something like that, and leave it for a day and see what color it's going to be when it's all dry. Because what I did, I was rushing as usual. I made my grout at the end, but I wasn't very happy with the color, so then I had to paint over it to make it a little bit darker. It wasn't the end of the world, but rushing is never a good idea anyway when you're doing any kind of project. So that's something that I'm learning every single time. You can either apply your adhesive on the back of the tile or on the base. It's up to you completely. Sometimes I apply the adhesive on the back of the tile just because they have these indentations, and I just want to make sure that the adhesive will go at least on most of the surface at the back of the tile. But again, you know, every project that you do is different, and the more you do, the more you learn, the more experience you get, and you can just make your own decisions about these things.
I wonder if God got a plan for everyone. I wonder if I could take a second run. 'Cause I carry on getting sad and getting stuck. What I wouldn't give for a life that doesn't suck. I'm a moving target. I never finish what I've started. I'm a moving target. But if I stop moving, then I'll have to face myself. I don't wanna face myself. I don't wanna face myself. I don't wanna face myself. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm a moving target. I never finish what I've started. Kinda makes me wish I never started. I'm a moving target. But if I stop moving, then I'll have to face myself. I don't wanna face myself. I don't wanna face myself. I don't wanna face myself. No, I don't wanna face myself. I don't wanna face myself. I don't wanna face myself.
So I'm doing 4 of these coasters, and I will try to finish what I've started. You're welcome just to fast forward towards the end of the video if you just want to see the finished project, but this is just for you to see the whole process of how I've done it, how to get an idea of how long it takes. You can get away with leaving some of the pieces rectangle. It's just up to your completely to your personal judgment, and if you like the look of it or not. That's all it is, basically. I personally don't like it when the gaps are too big between the tiles, so I'm putting my tiles quite close to each other, but again, some people don't mind at all, so when they do a mosaic, they just leave very large gaps in between the pieces. Obviously that can make it easier sometimes to fill an area and to fit in the shapes that you have available. So that's just me. I decided I was going to grout obviously these coasters, but I'm still trying to put my pieces neatly next to each other without leaving huge gaps in between.
Photograph in which we were in love, caught in your eyes, waiting for the sunrise. I barely even knew who you were. What did you do? I didn't care, 'cause you were perfect, I swear. But somebody told me that it's over. I know it's true. You made me happy for a while. Times when we slept on top of cars. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. I remember fleeting times when we watched the sparks so fire. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too.
our eyes would meet, I would feel my heart beat when you looked and smiled at me. Back then our love was so strong, we wanted this to go on, but now it's only a pleasant memory. If I could see you now, you would stand out from the crowd, but you would not even notice me. I remember fleeting times when we slept on top of cars. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. I remember fleeting times when we watched the sparks so fire. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. We knew we'd be forever young. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. I knew that love would never die. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too.
Okay, so as you can see here, I finished the 4 coasters and I'm preparing my grout. Unfortunately, I was in a bit of a rush and getting tired, so I added a little bit too much color, first of all. And second of all, it wasn't exactly the color that I had in mind. So just a word of advice: when you want to make colored grout, don't use too much paint mixed with the grout. If you put too much paint in, your grout might not stick on properly onto your tiles. So basically I'm trying to make a kind of a teal color. It was okay, but I just wasn't happy with it 100%. So in the end I ended up painting over my grout, which is also okay. Another thing you can do is, if you're not very happy with the edges of your mosaic, when your grout is completely dry after 2 or 3 days, you can use a very fine sanding paper and sand it, and you can make your edges really nice and smooth. And keep in mind that when you add paint to the grout, your color will be lighter than the color you could see when you were mixing your paint. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You don't want to make too much colored grout, but you also want to make sure that you have enough. So just kind of try and estimate how much you will need, because you don't want to mix a color and then you realize that you don't have enough, because then it will be difficult. It might be difficult for you to try and mix the exact same color again. Another nice thing you can do when you make coasters or any other small mosaic for indoor use is you can buy some felt fabric and cut that to the right size, and you can glue it to the back of your mosaic, and that will give it a nice finished look, and it looks a bit more professional. And especially for coasters it's nice, because then you can use them on any area, any table that's perhaps varnished and you're worried that you might scratch the surface. So that's another thing that you can do. In this case I just painted my the back of my coasters. They had some stickers on them, so I just removed the stickers and then painted them, and I added a little bit of PVA glue as well, just to make sure that the paint sticks properly onto the MDF board, and just to protect, kind of seal the wood and protect the paint as well, so that it can last a little bit longer. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope again it has inspired you to do something different, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you again soon at one of our sessions. Usually they're on a Monday from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Despite the commitment you think you've secured, and despite the attention you feed her, nothing she promises is guaranteed, and she may not be there when you need her. So don't put the weight of your world on a woman. Just love her the best that you can. Show her your power, that you'd be just fine without her, and you'll be her favorite man. She doesn't want someone who she can control, and she doesn't want someone to stare in her soul. But if you can be still in the eye of her storm, then she'll be your number one fan. On a woman, just love her the best that you can. Show her your power, that you'll be just fine without her, and you'll be her favorite man. She doesn't want someone who she can control, and she doesn't want someone to stare in her soul. But if you can be still in the eye of her storm, then she'll be your number one fan. If you can be still in the eye of her storm, then she'll be your number one fan.
So as you can see, even for a small project like this, it takes some time to apply your grout, clean it, reapply the grout if you're not very happy with it. Sometimes you can wait a few minutes before you clean the grout. It just depends, I suppose, on the grout, and you know, you don't want to leave the grout on there for too long because then it'll go hard and it'll be difficult to clean it up. So you want to do it as the grout is setting, but not too early either. You don't want to get it too wet as well. If you get the grout too wet with your sponge, then it will change the consistency of the grout. So that's another mistake that I made. Actually, I was using a damp sponge, but it didn't need to be so wet, because what happens is it looks okay, but then when it dries, it actually creates little holes because it's not as thick as it's meant to be. So really, I suppose next time I have to be a little bit careful and not use a sponge that is too wet. I was happy with the outcome. Like I said, I changed the color a little bit. I just made it a little bit darker, but overall, yes, I can say I was happy. I really enjoyed making these coasters, and perhaps I will make some more to give to my friends and family. Obviously, it's a good idea to wear gloves when you're doing this job, especially if you have very sensitive skin. If you don't want to get paint on you, just get a cheap pair of disposable gloves, or even the gloves that I was wearing in some of the other videos, the ones that they use usually when they dye your hair or things like that, you know, the ones that are just for one use. They're really good for when you do mosaics and you just want to do your grouting and your cleaning. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. And if you have any other ideas about things that you would like me to try, things that you would like me to make, please let me know. See you soon.